The Meridian Royale Hotel smells like French lavender and silent desperation at 2:47 a.m. In the amber glow of the executive lounge, where leather chairs cost more than Carolyn Coop's yearly salary, the wealthy leave ghosts of themselves, half-empty glasses of $1,000 whiskey, forgotten silk scarves, the occasional diamond earring. But tonight, what they left behind wasn't jewelry. It was a test. Carolyn's black vest and white shirt make her part of the architecture. Another fixture in the shadows, wiping down marble tables while the city's elite pretend she doesn't exist. Her hands move on autopilot. Wipe, spray, collect. Wipe, spray, collect. The rhythm of invisibility. She's 3 months behind on rent. Her daughter needs new school uniforms. The fluorescent lights in their apartment flicker like a dying heartbeat. Then she sees it. Tucked between seat cushions on the VIP sofa, a car key. Not just any key, a matte black fob with a chrome dragon emblem, the kind that unlocks machines worth more than houses. Next to it, a brushed metal business card with a single phone number engraved in silver. No name, no company, just 10 digits that feel like a trap. Carolyn's pulse hammers against her ribs. She's seen enough crime dramas to know what this is. A choice between survival and stupidity. Keep it, maybe pawn it, maybe disappear, and risk becoming a headline. Return it, maybe get a reward, maybe get something worse. She picks up the key. It's heavier than it should be, cold as a promise. Her reflection stares back from the polished metal. Wide eyes, a woman drowning in someone else's world. The number on the card seems to pulse under the lounge lights. At 2:53 a.m., Carolyn makes the call that will unravel everything she thought she knew about being invisible. The phone rings once, twice. On the third ring, a voice answers, smooth as black silk, cold as winter rain. You have something of mine. Not a question. A fact. Carolyn's throat goes dry. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her, the city sprawls like a circuit board of light and shadow. Somewhere out there, the owner of this voice is watching. Waiting. Testing. I found a car key, she whispers, pressing the phone to her ear with trembling fingers. In the executive lounge. I work here. I just wanted to. Your location. 2 words. A command wrapped in velvet. Carolyn gives him the address, her employee number spilling out like a confession. She doesn't know why. Maybe it's the exhaustion. Maybe it's the 3 months of overdue bills stacked on her kitchen counter like a paper guillotine. Maybe it's because his voice carries the weight of someone who doesn't ask twice. Don't move, he says. I'll be there in 12 minutes. The line goes dead. Carolyn stands frozen in the amber light, the car key burning a hole in her palm. Outside, a black sedan with tinted windows pulls away from the curb across the street, or maybe she imagined it. The hotel's security cameras blink red in the corners like mechanical eyes. 12 minutes until her life changes. 12 minutes until she learns that some tests you can't afford to fail. Subscribe to see how this unfolds and comment where you're. Chapter 1. At 2:53 a.m., Carolyn makes the call that will unravel everything she thought she knew about being invisible. The phone rings once. Twice. On the third ring, a voice answers, smooth as black silk, cold as winter rain. You have something of mine. Not a question. A fact. Carolyn's throat goes dry. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her, the city sprawls like a circuit board of light and shadow. Somewhere out there, the owner of this voice is watching. Waiting. Testing. I found a car key, she whispers, pressing the phone to her ear with trembling fingers. In the executive lounge. I work here. I just wanted to. Your location. 2 words. A command wrapped in velvet. Carolyn gives him the address, her employee number spilling out like a confession. She doesn't know why. Maybe it's the exhaustion. Maybe it's the 3 months of overdue bills stacked on her kitchen counter like a paper guillotine. Maybe it's because his voice carries the weight of someone who doesn't ask twice. Don't move, he says. I'll be there in 12 minutes. The line goes dead. Carolyn stands frozen in the amber light, the car key burning a hole in her palm. Outside, A black sedan with tinted windows pulls away from the curb across the street. Or maybe she imagined it. The hotel's security cameras blink red in the corners like mechanical eyes. 12 minutes until her life changes. Chapter 2. Those 12 minutes stretch like taffy pulled too thin. Carolyn tries to continue working, but her hands shake as she wipes the same table 3 times. The executive lounge feels smaller now, the shadows deeper. She keeps glancing at the elevator doors, at the lobby entrance visible through the glass partition, at every reflection in every polished surface. At minute 9, her supervisor Raphael passes through, clipboard in hand. "You good, Coop? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Fine," she lies, tucking the car key into her vest pocket where it presses against her ribs like a secret heartbeat. "Just tired." "Aren't we all?" Raphael mutters, disappearing back toward the kitchen. At minute 11, the elevator chimes. The doors slide open with a whisper, and Jack Song steps into the lobby like he owns the molecular structure of the air itself. He doesn't walk. He glides, each movement precise and economical, a predator who has forgotten what it means to hurry. The night shift receptionist straightens instinctively, her hand moving toward the phone, then freezing when Jack's gaze passes over her like a winter wind. He wears a white button-down shirt, pristine despite the late hour, unbuttoned just enough to reveal the edge of intricate tattoos that crawl up his neck, black and gray ink that tells stories in a language Carolyn doesn't speak, but somehow understands means power, means danger, means this man has walked through fire and come out forged in something harder than steel. Gold chains catch the lobby light. Rings glint on 3 fingers of his right hand. His face is all sharp angles and controlled calm. The kind of calm that comes not from peace, but from absolute certainty in one's ability to handle whatever chaos erupts. His eyes sweep the space with the efficiency of a surveillance system, cataloging exits, cameras, people, threats. They land on Carolyn. She feels it like a physical touch, cold, assessing, seeing through her uniform to the terrified woman beneath. He moves toward her without hesitation, closing the distance between the elevator and the executive lounge in 8 measured steps. The air around him smells like expensive cologne and something darker, something that reminds Carolyn of her father's warnings about men who smile with their mouths, but not their eyes. "Miss Co-op." He says her name like he's testing the weight of it. Up close, his voice is exactly as it sounded on the phone, silk wrapped around iron. "Mister?" She tries to keep her voice steady, fails. "Song." He doesn't offer his hand. Instead, he glances at her vest pocket where the key creates a slight bulge. "You have excellent timing. Most people would have waited until morning, or tried to sell it, or simply kept it." "It's not mine," Carolyn says, the words tumbling out too fast. "I found it when I was cleaning. I thought you'd want it back." "And you didn't look inside?" His eyes narrow slightly, and Carolyn realizes this is the test. The real test. Not whether she'd call, but what she'd done before calling. Her mind races through the moments after she found the key. The temptation to press the button, to hear the responding beep from the parking garage, to maybe, just maybe, see what kind of car commands this kind of presence. But she hadn't. Some instinct, the same one that keeps prey animals alive, told her that curiosity about this man's belongings would be a fatal mistake. "No," she says, meeting his gaze even though every nerve in her body screams at her to look away. "I didn't touch anything else. Just the key and the card with the number." Something shifts in Jack Song's expression. Not quite a smile, but close. A recognition, perhaps. He reaches into his jacket pocket with slow, deliberate movements, and Carolyn's body tenses, her mind flashing to every movie scene where this gesture ends in gunfire. Chapter 3. But what emerges is a golden envelope, thick and textured, the kind that holds either invitations to galas or severance notices that come with hush money. "For your integrity," he says, pressing the envelope into her hands. His fingers are cool, steady. "And your time." The envelope weighs almost nothing, but feels heavier than the key. Carolyn's thumb slides across the sealed flap. "I don't need." "Yes," Jack interrupts, his voice dropping half an octave. You do. 3 months behind on rent. Daughter in public school wearing shoes 2 sizes too small. Car that starts on the 3rd try if you're lucky. He tilts his head slightly, and Carolyn's blood turns to ice. He knows. He knows everything. Consider it hazard pay for working in a hotel where people like me leave things behind. People like you? People who notice, he says, retrieving his car key from her trembling hand. Whether someone opens envelopes before they're alone. It's another test. Carolyn realizes this with the slow, dawning horror of someone who has walked into a spider's web and only now feels the silk against her skin. She tucks the envelope into her other pocket, unopened. Smart, Jack Song says, and this time he does smile. A brief flash of something that might be approval or might be the satisfaction of a hunter who has just confirmed his prey has interesting survival instincts. Very smart, Miss Co-op. He turns to leave, his white shirt catching the amber light as he moves back toward the elevator. Carolyn watches him go, her heart performing percussion against her ribs. Just before the elevator doors close, he looks back at her one final time. Sleep well, he says. The doors slide shut on his reflection. Carolyn doesn't sleep well. She doesn't sleep at all. At 6:47 a.m., she sits in her daughter's room, watching Jade sleep with one arm thrown over her head, mouth slightly open, 9 years old and still believing the world is fundamentally fair. The golden envelope lies on Carolyn's lap, still sealed. The security deposit notice from their landlord sits on the kitchen counter, final warning printed in red. She opens the envelope. $100 bills fall into her hands like autumn leaves made of paper and broken promises. $5,000. Enough to pay rent. Enough to buy Jade new shoes and fix the car, and maybe, just maybe, breathe for the first time in 6 months. Carolyn counts it 3 times. The bills are crisp, sequential, real. She holds one up to the dawn light filtering through their apartment's single window, checking for the watermark, the security strip, the tiny details that separate legal currency from counterfeit dreams. Everything checks out. At 8:15 a.m., she stands in line at First National Bank, deposit slip filled out in her careful handwriting. The teller, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and tired shoulders, counts the money with practiced efficiency. Large deposit, she notes conversationally. Work bonus, Carolyn lies smoothly. The words taste like copper. Well, congratulations. The teller stamps the receipt, slides it across the counter. Have a blessed day. Carolyn walks out of the bank with her account balance no longer screaming in red, and the weight in her chest somehow feels heavier than before. She pays her landlord in person, watches Mr. Kowalski's perpetual scowl soften into something resembling relief as he tears up the eviction notice. Knew you were good for it, Coop, he says, which is a lie, but Carolyn nods anyway. She buys Jade new shoes at Target, light-up sneakers that make her daughter's entire face illuminate with joy. She schedules a mechanic appointment for the car. She buys groceries without checking her banking app every 30 seconds. For one perfect afternoon, she feels like a person instead of a problem. Then she returns to work at 10 p.m. for the overnight shift, and the hotel knows. Carolyn feels it the moment she clocks in. The way the security cameras seem to track her movements with more attention than usual, the way Raphael glances at her twice during the staff briefing, the way the lobby seems to hold its breath when she walks through. She tells herself it's paranoia. She tells herself that Jack Song is done with her, that the transaction is complete, that she's back to being invisible. She's wrong. Chapter 4. At 2:30 a.m., during her break, Carolyn opens her locker in the staff changing room. Sitting on top of her street clothes, nestled between her denim jacket and her daughter's school permission slip, is a phone. Not her phone. A phone. Sleek, black, expensive, the kind of device that costs more than her monthly salary. The screen lights up as soon as she touches it, displaying a single text message from a number with no name attached. Suite 1847. Nightstand drawer. Tablet. Retrieve it. Leave through the service elevator. You have 20 minutes. Carolyn's hands shake so badly, she nearly drops the phone. She looks around the changing room. Empty at this hour, fluorescent lights humming their endless mechanical prayer. The security camera in the corner has a piece of electrical tape covering its lens. She didn't notice that before. How long has it been like that? Another message appears. Clock is ticking, Miss Co-op 19 minutes. Her mind races through options like shuffling cards. She could ignore it. She could go to Raphael, show him the phone, report. What exactly? A mysterious text message? And say she got it on a mystery phone that appeared in her locker? They'd laugh her right into a psychiatric evaluation. She could call the police. But then she'd have to explain the $5,000. The money she already spent on rent and shoes and groceries. Money that might be evidence of something she doesn't want to be evidence of. She could run. Clock out, grab Jade, disappear into whatever cracks still exist in America's surveillance state. Or she could do exactly what Jack Song is testing her to do. Prove that she can be invisible even when she's moving through spaces she doesn't belong. 18 minutes. Carolyn closes her locker, slips the phone into her vest pocket where the car key used to rest, and walks toward the service elevator with her cleaning cart. The key card that hangs from her belt, the one that grants access to guest floors for housekeeping purposes, suddenly feels like a weapon, or a confession. The 18th floor is silent in the way that only expensive hotels can be silent. All the noise absorbed by thick carpets and thicker walls. All the human chaos contained behind doors that cost more per night than Carolyn earns in a week. Suite 1847 sits at the end of the hallway, its door marked with a golden placard and a "Do Not Disturb" sign that hangs crooked. 14 minutes. Carolyn's key card beeps green. The lock disengages with a soft click that sounds like a gunshot in the silence. She pushes the door open, pulling her cleaning cart in behind her, camouflage, alibi, the visible invisibility of service workers. The suite is dark except for the city lights bleeding through floor-to-ceiling windows. It's empty, no luggage, no personal items, no sign that anyone has stayed here recently. The bed is made with military precision. The bathroom smells like industrial cleaning solution and nothing else. 12 minutes. Carolyn moves to the nightstand, her reflection ghost pale in the window's glass. The drawer slides open with a whisper. Inside, nestled on top of a Gideon Bible, is a tablet, slim, black, its screen dark and dormant. She picks it up. It's warm, like it's been recently used, like someone was just here holding it, watching her approach through some digital eye she can't see. The phone in her pocket vibrates. Good. Now leave. Service elevator. Don't stop. Carolyn tucks the tablet into the false bottom of her cleaning cart. The space where housekeepers hide their personal phones and snacks, and the small dignities management pretends don't exist. She backs out of the suite, pulling the cart, letting the door click shut behind her. 10 minutes. The hallway stretches like a throat, and Carolyn is being swallowed. She walks at the exact pace she always walks. Not too fast, not too slow, just another invisible worker moving through the hotel's circulatory system. The service elevator is around the corner, past the ice machine and the utility closet, and the door marked staff only. She's 5 feet from the elevator when she hears it, footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, coming from the main elevator bank. 2 men in suits that don't quite fit right, their eyes scanning the hallway with the practiced sweep of people who are looking for something specific. Looking for someone. Carolyn doesn't run. Running would make her visible. Instead, she stops at the utility closet, uses her key card, pulls the door open, steps inside with her cart. Through the crack in the door, she watches the 2 men walk past. One of them pauses at Suite 1847, tries the handle, finds it locked. They exchange words she can't hear, then continue down the hallway. 7 minutes. Carolyn waits until their footsteps fade, then slips out of the closet and into the service elevator. The doors close. The ancient machinery groans to life. She descends through the building's hidden arteries, past the guest floors, past the lobby, down to the basement level where deliveries arrive and where people like her enter and exit without ever being seen. The phone vibrates again. Loading dock. Black sedan. Put the tablet in the trunk. 3 minutes. The loading dock smells like garbage and diesel and the particular desperation of 3 a.m. The black sedan idles in the shadows, its trunk already open like a mouth waiting to be fed. Carolyn approaches, the tablet heavy in her hands despite its thinness. She places it in the trunk. The lid closes automatically with a hydraulic hiss. The phone vibrates one final time. You're very good at being invisible, Miss Co-op. We'll be in touch. The sedan pulls away, its taillights disappearing into the city's bloodstream. Carolyn stands alone in the loading dock, her reflection fractured in a dozen dirty puddles, and realizes with absolute clarity that she has just crossed a line she can never uncross. Chapter 5. The next 3 days pass in a fog of normalcy that feels like a lie. Carolyn works her shifts. She takes Jade to school. She makes dinner from groceries she can actually afford. She sleeps in 4-hour increments, waking up each time convinced she hears footsteps outside her door. The phone stays silent in her locker. On the 4th day, Jade asks her a question over breakfast. Mom, why do you keep checking your pockets? Carolyn realizes she's been unconsciously patting her vest pocket every few minutes, feeling for the weight of a phone that isn't there, or a car key, or evidence of whatever she's becoming. Just a habit, baby. Eat your cereal. That night at work, Raphael pulls her aside during the shift briefing. Hey, Co-op. You doing okay? You've been different lately. Different how? I don't know. Jumpy. Like you're waiting for something bad to happen. He studies her face with the concern of someone who has worked overnight shifts long enough to recognize when a coworker is drowning. If you need to talk, or if something's going on. I'm fine, Carolyn interrupts too sharply. Really? Just tired. Raphael doesn't look convinced, but he nods. All right. But if you need anything. I know. Thanks. At 2:15 a.m., Carolyn is wiping down tables in the executive lounge when she sees him. Jack Song, sitting in one of the leather chairs like he's been waiting for hours, or like he just materialized from the shadows themselves. He's reading something on his phone, his tattooed neck illuminated by the blue screen light, his white shirt somehow still pristine. He looks up as she approaches. Miss Co-op, right on schedule. Carolyn's heart performs gymnastics. I'm working. I know. He slides his phone into his jacket pocket. Sit. I can't. Raphael will. Raphael is on the 3rd floor dealing with a guest complaint about room temperature. You have 7 minutes. It's not a request. Carolyn sits. The leather chair feels like a trap. Up close, Jack Song smells like bergamot and something darker. Gunpowder, maybe, or the particular scent of violence postponed but not forgotten. You did well with the tablet, he says. Very well. No hesitation. No mistakes. No questions asked. What was on it? That, Jack says, his eyes meeting hers with the impact of a physical blow, is exactly the kind of question that gets people killed. You retrieved it. That's all you need to know. Carolyn's hands clench in her lap. Why me? Why any of this? Because you called me instead of keeping my car key. Because you didn't open the envelope until you were alone. Because you're invisible in the exact way I need someone to be invisible. He leans forward slightly, and Carolyn catches a glimpse of more tattoos beneath his shirt. Characters in what might be Korean or Chinese. Symbols she doesn't recognize but understands mean allegiance to something older and more dangerous than law. Do you know what most people see when they look at you, Miss Coop? No. Nothing. They see a uniform. A function. A pair of hands that wipes tables and empties trash. They don't see you. He pauses, letting the words sink in like stones in water. That makes you valuable. I'm not, Carolyn starts, but Jack raises one hand, and the gesture is so commanding that her voice dies in her throat. You already are. The moment you spent that money, you became part of the structure. You think you can go to the police now? Tell them what? That a stranger gave you $5,000 for returning a car key, and then you spent it, and now he's asking you to retrieve tablets from hotel rooms. Jack's smile is cold, precise. They'd laugh you out of the station. Or they'd arrest you for theft, for breaking and entering, for conspiracy to commit crimes you don't even know the names of. The truth of it hits Carolyn like ice water. He's right. She's spent the money. She's retrieved the tablet. She's crossed the line from victim to accomplice without even realizing when it happened. What do you want from me? Your continued invisibility. Your attention to detail. Your excellent timing. Jack stands, buttoning his jacket with movements that speak of expensive tailoring and dangerous patience. There will be more tasks. Small things. Retrieval. Delivery. Observation. Nothing that will put you in direct danger, as long as you follow instructions exactly. And if I refuse? Jack's expression doesn't change, but something in the air shifts, a pressure drop before a storm, a warning written in a language older than words. You won't, because you're smart enough to understand that you're already in the water, Miss Co-op. The only question now is whether you swim or drown. He walks away, his footsteps silent on the carpet. Carolyn sits frozen in the leather chair, watching his reflection disappear in the window's glass. Outside, the city continues its endless circulation of light and shadow, and somewhere in that vast machine, she's become a gear she never wanted to be. Chapter 6. 2 weeks pass. Carolyn retrieves a briefcase from a storage locker. She delivers an envelope to a restaurant downtown. She photographs documents in an office suite and sends them to a secure number. Each task is simple. Each task is illegal. Each task pays exactly $5,000. Her bank account grows. Jade gets new clothes. The car runs smoothly. The apartment stops feeling like a cage and starts feeling like a prison. Comfortable, paid for, but a prison nonetheless. On the 15th day, the phone buzzes with a new message. Penthouse suite. Tonight, 11 p.m. Carolyn arrives early, which is apparently what Jack Song expects, because when the private elevator opens directly into the penthouse, he's standing there with 2 glasses of wine and an expression that might be amusement or might be something more calculated. Punctual, he says, offering her a glass. That's good. Carolyn doesn't take it. What is this? A conversation about your future. Jack sets the glass down on a table made of glass and steel, and what looks like human ambition solidified. The penthouse is all floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture, and the kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself because it rewrites the rules of reality around it. I don't want a future with you. Yes, you do. Jack's certainty is absolute. You want stability. You want your daughter to grow up without hunger and fear. You want to sleep without wondering if tomorrow brings eviction or disconnection notices, or another 6 months of drowning in poverty. He moves to the window, his silhouette backlit by the city's endless glow. I'm offering you a position. Permanent. Salaried. With benefits that don't appear on any tax form, but will guarantee that Jade goes to a good college, and that you never eat ramen for dinner again. Doing what? Being my filter. Jack turns, and in the shadows, his tattoos seem to move like living ink. I operate in chaos, co-op violence, betrayal, transactions that would make your blood freeze if you understood their full scope. But I need someone who exists between me and that chaos. Someone who can move through the world without being seen. Someone who notices things. The way you noticed that the man in the lobby last Tuesday had a gun in a shoulder holster even though he was dressed like a businessman. Carolyn's breath catches. She had noticed that. She'd spent 3 days wondering if she should report it, then decided it wasn't her business. You see the patterns, Jack continues. You see what doesn't belong. That's why you called me instead of keeping my car key, because you recognized that keeping it would create a pattern of consequences you couldn't manage. He pulls a folder from his jacket, sets it on the table. This is a contract. Read it. Think about it. Sign it if you want a life where your daughter never has to know what it feels like to be invisible. Carolyn opens the folder. The contract is 10 pages of legal language that basically translates to, you work for Jack Song. You don't ask questions. You notice things. You report what you see. You become part of a structure that exists in the spaces between legal and illegal, between visible and invisible, between survival and something that might be called power, but tastes like compromise. The salary is more money than Carolyn has ever dreamed of earning. The exit clause is death. There's no way out, she says, her finger tracing the paragraph that explains termination of employment. There's always a way out, Jack says. It's just expensive. Carolyn thinks about Jade's light-up sneakers, about the car that finally starts on the first try, about the feeling of walking into a grocery store without calculating the cost of every item down to the penny, about the security deposit she's already saved for Jade's future. She thinks about the invisible life she's been living, seen but not seen, present but not present, a ghost in her own existence. And she thinks about the way Jack Song looks at her. Not through her. At her. Like she's real. She signs the contract with a pen that feels heavier than it should, its ink black and permanent as tattoos. Chapter 7. The transformation happens over 48 hours. Carolyn clocks out of the Meridian Royale for the last time, and Raphael hugs her goodbye with confusion in his eyes because she told him she got a corporate job, but couldn't explain doing what. Jack sends a car. Not the luxury sedan from that first night, but a professional town car with a driver who calls her Miss Coop and opens doors like she's someone who matters. They drive to an address in the financial district, a building with security that scans retinas and asks questions without words. Up on the 47th floor, a woman named Vivian is waiting. She's sharp as broken glass, wearing a suit that costs more than Carolyn's previous yearly salary, and she looks at Carolyn the way a sculptor looks at marble. Mr. Song said you need armor, Vivian says. Let's build you some. The next 6 hours are a blur of measurements and fabric swatches and Vivian's running commentary on the invisible language of clothing. Power dresses in silk, she says, holding a charcoal blazer against Carolyn's shoulders. Confidence walks in heels that don't click too loud. Invisibility wears black, but authority wears navy with a blood-red lining where only you can see it. Carolyn tries on clothes that feel like costumes until Vivian shakes her head. They're not costumes. They're armor. They change how people see you, which changes how you move through the world. Right now, you walk like you're apologizing for existing. In this, she gestures to a tailored suit the color of midnight. You walk like you own the building. By the end of the session, Carolyn has an entire wardrobe that transforms her from invisible waitress to someone who looks like she belongs in rooms where decisions are made. Vivian also gives her a phone, a new one, expensive, encrypted, and a set of what she calls civilian credentials. Business cards, Vivian explains, handing over a leather case. You're now a corporate consultant specializing in efficiency analysis. It's vague enough to be believable, specific enough to shut down questions. That night, Carolyn looks at herself in the mirror of her apartment. The same apartment, but somehow different now because she's different in it. She's wearing one of the new suits, silk blouse the color of cream, blazer that fits like it was designed to hide weapons or secrets or both, pants that make her legs look like they could walk through walls. Jade stares at her from the doorway, eyes wide. Mom, you look like someone on TV. Is that good? I don't know. You look like you could tell people what to do, and they'd listen. Carolyn kneels down, still wearing the armor, and pulls her daughter into a hug. I'm still me, baby. Just dressed differently. But it's a lie. She's not still herself. She's becoming someone new, someone forged in the pressure between poverty and power, between invisibility and being seen by exactly the wrong person who might be exactly the right one. Chapter 8. The first Royale test comes 3 weeks into her new role. Jack hosts a negotiation in the penthouse. 6 men in suits that cost what small countries spend on infrastructure, speaking in careful English that occasionally slips into Korean or Mandarin or the universal language of violence barely restrained. Carolyn's job is simple. Serve drinks, observe, report anything unusual. She moves through the room like water, pouring whiskey that costs more per ounce than her old hourly wage, and she watches. The men are discussing territories. She understands that much from the occasional English words that surface like sharks. Territories means money means power means blood if someone disagrees with the wrong emphasis. One of the men sits slightly apart from the others. He's younger, maybe 30, wearing a suit that's expensive but not quite right, the cut slightly off, the color a shade too vibrant. He's sweating in a room kept at 68 degrees. His hands keep moving to his phone, then away, then back. Carolyn notices. She pours his whiskey, steps back, continues her invisible circulation through the room. But she watches him in reflections, in window glass, in the peripheral vision that's kept her alive through years of navigating rooms where wealthy people do terrible things. At 10:47 p.m., the man excuses himself to use the restroom. His phone stays on the table next to his drink. Carolyn moves to clear glasses. As she reaches across, she glances at the phone's screen, still lit, showing a text message thread. The words are in Korean, but the numbers are universal. Timestamps, coordinates, something that looks like a countdown. She doesn't photograph it. That would be too obvious. Instead, she memorizes the pattern of numbers, the way she's memorized Jade's school schedule and her work shifts, and the exact amount of money needed to keep their lives from collapsing. When Jack glances her way, she meets his eyes for exactly 1 second and gives the smallest shake of her head. It's enough. Jack's expression doesn't change, but something in his posture shifts. When the man returns from the restroom, Jack smiles and continues the negotiation. The conversation winds down. Agreements are made. Hands are shaken. The men leave in a coordinated exodus of expensive cologne and unspoken threats. Except the younger man. Jack asks him to stay for one more drink. Carolyn is clearing the last glasses when she hears the sound. Not a gunshot, too quiet for that, but something that makes her blood freeze. A wet sound. A thump. Silence that feels heavy enough to crush bones. She doesn't turn around. She continues wiping the table, her hands steady through sheer force of will. "Miss Coop," Jack's voice comes from behind her, calm as autumn rain. "Would you call Mr. Park? Tell him we need cleanup in the penthouse." Carolyn pulls out her phone, the encrypted one, and makes the call. Her voice doesn't shake. She gives the address, the suite number, the code word Vivian taught her that means bring the industrial cleaning solution. She doesn't look at what's behind her. She doesn't need to. She already knows she just saved Jack Song's life by noticing that a man in an expensive suit was sweating in a cold room. After the cleanup crew leaves, efficient men in coveralls who work in silence and ask no questions, Jack pours 2 glasses of whiskey and hands one to Carolyn. "You have a gift," he says. That man was wired. Not recording, transmitting. If he'd left this building, an ambush team would have hit us in the parking garage. Carolyn takes the whiskey, drinks it in one swallow. It burns like truth. "How did you know I noticed?" "Because you have what I call the janitor's eye. You see what doesn't belong. Most people in this world are so focused on the obvious threats, the guns, the shouting, the violence they can name, that they miss the quiet wrongness. A man sweating in a cold room. A phone left on a table during a sensitive conversation. The small frictions that mean someone is lying." Jack studies her over the rim of his glass. "That's why you're valuable. That's why you're still alive." "Am I?" Carolyn asks, and she's not sure if she means alive or valuable or both. "You are," Jack says, "and you'll continue to be, as long as you keep seeing the patterns." Chapter 9. The attack comes 6 weeks later, on a Tuesday night when Carolyn is reviewing spreadsheets that hide money trails in columns of legitimate business expenses. She's gotten good at this, seeing the patterns in numbers the same way she sees them in people, understanding that a $3,000 expense for office supplies is actually a payoff, that consulting fees means money changing hands for reasons that would make prosecutors salivate. She's in Jack's penthouse office, glass walls, minimalist furniture, a view of the city that makes her feel like she's standing on top of the world instead of inside it. When the lights go out. Not flickering. Out. Complete darkness except for the city glow through the windows. Carolyn's training kicks in before her conscious mind catches up. She drops behind the desk. Pulls out her phone. The screen illuminates her face in the darkness, and she kills the brightness immediately because light makes you a target. She hears them before she sees them. Footsteps in the corridor outside, too many to count, moving with the coordinated precision of people who've rehearsed this. The door to the penthouse office explodes inward, not with explosives, with a battering ram that turns expensive wood into splinters. 4 men pour through. They're wearing tactical gear and night vision goggles and carrying weapons that look military-grade. One of them sweeps the room with a flashlight, the beam cutting through darkness like accusation. "Clear," he says in Korean-accented English. She's not here. They're looking for Jack. Carolyn realizes this with crystalline clarity. This is a coup. A takeover. Someone in Jack's organization has decided he's outlived his usefulness and has brought in professionals to remove the problem. The men move through the office, searching. One of them stops at the desk where Carolyn is hiding. His boots are 6 inches from her hand. She can smell the leather, see the tactical holster strapped to his thigh, count the ammunition magazines clipped to his vest. She doesn't breathe. The man moves on. They regroup near the door, speaking in rapid Korean. Carolyn understands 3 words: penthouse, roof, and what sounds like a time, midnight. They leave, boots thundering back down the corridor. Carolyn waits 30 seconds. Then she's moving, using the invisible paths she's mapped over the past 2 months. The service corridors, the emergency stairwells, the routes that hotel workers use to move through buildings without disturbing guests or being seen by security cameras that may or may not be compromised. She calls Jack on the encrypted phone. It rings once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, he answers, and she can hear gunfire in the background. "They're coming for you," she says without preamble. 4-man team, tactical gear, headed to the roof. Midnight. "Where are you?" Jack's voice is calm despite the chaos she can hear around him. Service corridor, 14th floor. "Where are you?" Parking garage, level B2. They have the main elevators locked down. Carolyn's mind races through the building's layout. She knows it the way she used to know the Meridian Royale, every corridor and utility closet and hidden space. "The freight elevator," she says. "Northwest corner of the parking level. It bypasses the main security system. Maintenance uses it to move supplies. Will it get me to the roof?" "No, but it'll get you to the 15th floor. From there, you can take the east stairwell. It connects to the penthouse level through a fire door that most people don't know exists because it's hidden behind the HVAC unit." Silence on the other end. Then, "How do you know this?" "Because I'm invisible," Carolyn says. "I notice things. Get to the roof. I'll meet you there." The call ends. Carolyn is already moving, using her knowledge of the building's invisible friction. The places where security cameras have blind spots, where doors don't quite close right, where the architecture creates shadows deep enough to hide in. She reaches the roof access door at 11:47 p.m. It's locked, but she has a key, not an official one, but one she had made 3 weeks ago when she realized that escape routes matter more than comfort. The roof is wind and city lights, and the particular silence that comes from being higher than most of the noise. Carolyn positions herself behind an HVAC unit, watching the access door waiting. At 11:52 p.m., Jack emerges. He's still wearing his white shirt, now torn and bloodstained. His face is cut, a gash above his left eyebrow that drips red down his cheek. He's holding a gun that looks heavy enough to stop cars. "They're 2 minutes behind me," he says. Carolyn pulls out the burner phone Vivian gave her. Not the encrypted one, a different device, prepaid, untraceable. She makes a call to a number she was told to only use if everything was on fire and drowning simultaneously. "This is Coop," she says when someone answers. "Penthouse breach. Hostile takeover. We need the package." "Confirmed," a voice responds. 90 seconds. At 11:55 p.m., the 4-man tactical team bursts onto the roof. They see Jack. They raise their weapons. The man in front starts to speak, probably some final words before execution, some statement about betrayal or business or the cost of being king. And then the night explodes. Not with gunfire. With helicopters. 3 of them, appearing from different vectors like pieces of a coordinated response that Carolyn didn't know existed until she triggered it. Spotlights pin the tactical team. Ropes drop. Men in body armor rappel down with the speed of people who do this professionally. The fight is over in 17 seconds. The tactical team is on the ground, zip-tied, neutralized. The helicopters hold position. One of them lowers a ladder, and a man descends, older, with gray hair and the kind of face that has seen everything twice and wasn't impressed the first time. "Mr. Song," he says. "Miss Co-op, your extraction is ready." Jack looks at Carolyn. His eyes hold something she hasn't seen before. Not gratitude exactly, but recognition. The acknowledgement that she just saved his life using nothing but attention to detail and knowledge of a building's invisible architecture. "You knew about the doomsday switch," he says. "Vivian mentioned it. I didn't think it was real." "Everything is real," Jack says, "when you're valuable enough to protect." They climb into the helicopter. The city falls away beneath them. Carolyn watches the Meridian Royale shrink to the size of a toy, watches the life she used to live become small enough to fit in a snow globe. Chapter 10. 3 days later, in a secure location that Carolyn is fairly certain is either Montana or some pocket dimension where wealthy criminals hide when the world becomes temporarily inhospitable, Jack Song makes her an offer. They're in what passes for a living room, leather furniture, a fireplace that burns real wood, windows that overlook mountains that look like they were designed by someone who really understood drama. "I need to know you're committed," Jack says. He's healed from the coup attempt. The cut above his eye now a thin red line, his white shirt once again pristine. "Not just contracted. Committed. I signed your papers. I saved your life. What more do you want?" "Everything." Jack reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small box. Opens it. Inside is a ring. Not a diamond engagement ring, but something older and more dangerous. A signet ring with a symbol Carolyn doesn't recognize but understands means family, means loyalty, means blood. "This belonged to my grandfather," Jack says. "He wore it when he built his first organization in Seoul. My father wore it when he came to America and rebuilt everything from nothing. I've worn it since my father decided I was ready to inherit his wars." He holds the ring out to Carolyn. "In my world, there are only 2 kinds of people. Those who are inside the structure and those who are outside it. Outside, you're a liability. A loose end. Someone who knows too much and can be pressured or bought or convinced to testify. Inside, your family. Protected. Sacrosanct. But inside means forever." Carolyn looks at the ring. At Jack. At the life she's built over the past 3 months. A life where she's no longer invisible, where she has power and agency and the ability to protect her daughter from the poverty that used to crush them both. "You're asking me to marry you. I'm asking you to be my eyes. My shield. The person who sees the patterns I miss because I'm too close to the violence to notice the quiet wrongness. I'm asking you to stand beside me in a world that will try to kill us both, and to trust that we're stronger together than apart." Jack's expression is unreadable. "I'm asking if you're willing to trade one kind of invisibility for another." "What kind?" "The invisibility of power. The kind where people see you and immediately calculate whether you're a threat or an ally. Where you walk into rooms and men with guns decide they'd rather negotiate than fight. Where your daughter grows up knowing she's untouchable because touching her means declaring war on something bigger than any individual organization." Carolyn thinks about Jade. About the apartment they've left behind. About the life where she was invisible because she was poor versus the life where she'll be invisible because she's powerful. About the difference between being unseen and being impossible to look away from. "When?" she asks. "Tonight. Midnight. There's a judge who owes me several favors and doesn't ask questions. At midnight, in a room lit by candlelight and the glow from a fireplace that turns shadows into living things, Carolyn Coop becomes Carolyn Song. The judge is efficient, 5 minutes of legal language, 2 signatures, a stamp that makes it official in the eyes of whatever laws still apply to people like them. Jack slides the signet ring onto her finger. It's heavy, warm from his pocket, and it fits perfectly like Vivian took measurements she didn't know she was giving. "You're my eyes," Jack says. "You're my shield," Carolyn responds, because Vivian coached her on this part, explained that in Jack's world, vows aren't about love or romance, but about function and survival, and the understanding that some partnerships are forged in pragmatism and become something else over time. The judge leaves. The candles burn down. Carolyn and Jack stand in the midnight silence, married in a ceremony that has nothing to do with white dresses or flower arrangements, and everything to do with signing a contract in blood and permanence. "What now?" Carolyn asks. "Now," Jack says, and he almost smiles. "We rebuild. Together. You see the patterns. I handle the violence. And anyone who comes for us learns that we're not just a structure, we're a fortress." Carolyn looks down at the ring on her finger. Outside, the mountains stand silent under stars that have watched kingdoms rise and fall and rise again. Inside, she stands next to a man who saw her when she was invisible and offered her a choice between drowning and becoming something dangerous. She chose dangerous. And somewhere in the city they left behind, in an apartment that still smells like industrial cleaner and desperation, Jade sleeps in a bed that's paid for, in a home that's secure, under the protection of a mother who learned that sometimes the only way to stop being invisible is to become impossible to ignore. The war isn't over. It never is. But Carolyn Coop, Carolyn's song, has learned to see the patterns, and she knows with absolute certainty that whatever comes next, she'll see it coming long before it arrives. And she'll be ready. So there you have it. Carolyn went from wiping down tables at 3 a.m. to standing beside one of the most dangerous men in the city, all because she made one honest phone call that changed everything. From invisible waitress to the eyes of an empire. From 3 months behind on rent to wearing a ring that means untouchable. She didn't just survive, she became the person even dangerous men have to reckon with. But here's what I want to know. Would you have made that call? Would you have returned the key? Or would you have kept it and tried to disappear? Drop your answer in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious what you would have done in Carolyn's position. And if you made it this far, you're clearly invested in these stories of everyday people who find themselves tangled up with powerful, dangerous forces. So do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter of courage, survival, and unexpected power. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from, whether you're in New York, Lagos, London, or anywhere else on this planet. I want to say hello and know how far Carolyn's story has traveled. Your city, your country, let me know in the comments. Building this community means everything. Before you go, here are 2 more stories I think you'll love. Point to left. This one's about a janitor who accidentally becomes the only witness to a billionaire's murder, and suddenly finds himself hunted by people who don't leave witnesses alive. Point to right. And this one? A single mom discovers her new boss is actually a fugitive crime lord hiding in plain sight, and he offers her a choice that will change her daughter's life forever. Both stories will have you on the edge of your seat, I promise. Thank you so much for watching. Your support, your comments, your shares, they all mean the world to me. This community we're building is special, and you're a part of it. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pay attention to what everyone else overlooks. I'll see you in the next story.